Kelsey is on the witness stand, still under oath. You may continue with your examination.
Good morning, Investigator Kelsey.
Good morning.
I hope you had your coffee because I want to jump right into it this morning.
Okay.
Yesterday, photo exhibits that depicted a smaller area right by the apartment complex. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And we also discussed how you, in addition to taking photos, you also took some videos. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I want to ask you about that video footage in particular. Do you recall about how many videos you took?
I think there were 6.
And what were these multiple videos attempting to capture different aspects of the scene?
Yes.
Do you recall making one longer video, about 8 minutes in length?
Yes, I do.
And have you been able to review that particular video, the longer, about 8-minute video in length, video of the crime scene prior to your testimony this morning?
Yes.
Um, May I approach this witness with People's Exhibit 161?
You may.
And it's Investigator Kelsey, do you recognize what I handed you?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
It is a video or a CD containing the video that I took.
And how do you know that's what that CD is?
Because I just put my initials on it this morning with the date.
And is it accurate to what you took back in the early hours of August 25th, 2019?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the people would move People's Exhibit 161 into evidence.
Were dire or objection to 161?
Objection, Your Honor.
161 will be admitted.
Investigator Kelsey, how would you generally describe the purpose of this one longer video in your own words?
This one is more describe to actually get all the evidence into the to the video. The first ones are just kind of overalls, and the second ones are more close-up of the evidence.
So is the purpose of this video to be able to do a full walkthrough through the block and the scene as it was the night or the early hours of August 25th, 2019?
Yes.
And so there's quite a bit of walking from you to really show different distances between, different aspects of the scene. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, the people would request permission to publish just a little over a minute and a half of this particular video.
You may.
Thank you. So we're starting at about 2:05. So Ms. Kelsey, or Investigator Kelsey, I am going to be asking you to count some of your steps during this particular video to get a really understanding of the depth and the length of some of these areas, okay? We're going to be starting first with the plastic handle at the edge of the rock garden, and we'll pause there so we kind of are on the same page as to when I want you to start counting your steps. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right, Roy, if you can go ahead. There. Investigator Kelsey, is this one of the plastic bag handles that you were asked to also document as part of this crime scene?
Yes.
So at this point, I do want you to count the number of steps that you take from this particular bag handle to the wall where there's another bag handle labeled with an evidence marker.
Okay.
Go ahead and play. We can pause there. Investigator Kelsey, about how many steps was it from the edge of that rock garden where that plastic handle was to this particular plastic bag handle at the edge of the apartment complex?
Are you asking me just to count the steps that I did?
Mhm.
Okay, the video cut off there for a second, but I think it was 6 to 8 steps.
Okay. And about how much would you estimate that amount of space to be from your 6 to 8 steps?
Maybe 8 to 12 feet.
So next I'm going to ask you to count how many steps it takes from you to get from this particular bag handle to the those sandy wipes or wet wipes that you eventually walk to.
Okay.
Go ahead and play. And we can pause there. So about how many steps was it to get to these two sandy wipes?
About 7 steps.
And about how much of a length was that from the wall to these wipes?
Could have been anywhere from 4 to 6 feet.
Thank you. At this time, can we republish Exhibit 100? Permission to republish Exhibit 100?
You may.
Thank you. And so Investigator Kelsey, can you give us some context from that video as to where we were walking from the bag handle to the other bag handle to the sanitary wipe based off this photo?
Um,
And yeah, I think the judges provided you with a laser pointer. If you can show where that initial bag handle was up on this particular screen up top.
all right. I'm trying to think. Because I marked the second bag handle is back there, and the first one is kind of in this area right here.
Okay. And then can you point out where the sanitary wipes were that you walked from the bag handle at the apartment to the sanitary wipes?
So there's the bag handle right next to the building, and then the sanitary wipes are right there, kind of in the center of the grass.
Thank you. Thank you, Roy. We can take that down. So within that particular video, Exhibit 161, we saw several items with markers near them. Did you take specific photos of each of those items?
Yes, I did.
At this time, can we publish to just this witness and not to the jury? Judge?
Yes.
Roy, can you please show this witness Exhibit 103? Do you recognize the photo in front of you? Still up there. Investigator Kelsey, do you recognize that photo?
Yes, I do.
Did you take this photo?
Yes, I did.
Next, can we move to 104? Did you take this photo?
Yes, I did.
Is it from your taking of this photo?
Yes.
Next, can we move to 107? Do you recognize this photo?
Yes, I do.
Is this a photo you took from August 25th, 2019?
Yes.
Next to 109. Do you recognize this photo?
Yes, I do.
Is this a photo you took investigating this particular crime scene?
Yes.
And then last, can we show Ms. Kelsey or Investigator Kelsey Exhibit 110? And did you take this photo?
Yes, I did.
Is it accurate from your taking of it in August 25th, 2019?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. At this time, the people would move to admit Exhibits 103, 104, 107, 109, and 110.
Questions or objections with respect to those exhibits?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, the court will admit 103, 104, 107, 109, and 110.
And just to, yes. Thank you. And Your Honor, permission to publish these exhibits as well.
You may.
Thank you. Roy, can you publish 103? Can you explain, I guess, the perspective of what we're looking at here?
We're looking towards the plastic bag full of the juice cans in the lawn.
And Roy, can we display 104, sorry, publish 104? And is this the bag up close that we just saw kind of far away?
Yes.
Can we next publish 107? And what is this a depiction of?
This is the one of the plastic bag handles.
And is this the one that is up against the wall?
Yes.
And last, can we publish 109? Can you give us some perspective as to where we're standing for this particular photo?
I'm standing on the sidewalk facing kind of a northeast direction. The plastic bag handle would be off to our right, and the plastic bag would be down to the right.
And what is it that we're seeing? I see a couple white spots and a couple blue spots.
The white spots are the handy wipes, and then the blue are the disposable gloves.
Can we go back quickly to 104? Were there any, sorry, is this the bag as you found it on this scene?
Yes.
And are there any handles on this particular bag that you see?
No, they're not.
Thank you, Roy. We can take that down. Do you recall documenting what the weather was like on this particular night?
Yes.
And did you note that temperature in your report?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall what that temperature is?
I believe it was 69 degrees.
Thank you. Generally, from the early hours of August 25th, 2019, is this what you completed for this case, the crime scene investigation, the documentation of 1768 Billing Street?
Yes.
Did you have further involvement in this particular case outside of just documenting the scene from August 24th into the 25th? Did you have another assignment given to you?
Yes.
And what was that assignment?
That was to attend the autopsy.
Do you recall who conducted that autopsy?
That was Dr. Sina.
And what was your role being present in that autopsy?
To document the decedent and his injuries and collect the evidence from the body.
About how many photos do you estimate that you took from that autopsy?
I think it was 88.
Were you the only person there taking photos of this autopsy?
No, somebody from the coroner's office was also taking basically the same photographs.
Okay. When you first arrived to this autopsy and before it really began, did you visually see Mr. McClain's deceased body in a white zippered bag?
Yes, I did.
So I want to review now just with you some of the some of the photos that you took from this autopsy. And so just to be displayed on your screen and not the one for the jurors, can the people show this witness exhibit 163? Do you recognize this photo?
Yes, I do.
Is this a photo from Mr. McClain's autopsy?
Yes.
Is it an accurate depiction of what was occurring at this autopsy?
Yes.
Next, the people would publish 164. Is this a photo that you recognize?
Yes, it is.
And is this a photo from Mr. McClain's autopsy?
Yes.
And is it an accurate photo from Mr. McClain's autopsy?
Yes.
People would next, can we show her 165? Do you recognize this photo?
Yes.
And is this a photo that was taken during the autopsy of Mr. McClain?
Yes.
Can we now show 128? Do you recognize this photo?
Yes, I do.
This is a photo that was taken during Mr. McClain's autopsy.
Yes.
And last, can we show this witness 168? Do you recognize this photo?
Yes, I do.
And is this a photo that was taken during Mr. McClain's autopsy?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the people would move to admit People's Exhibit 163, 164, 165, 128, and 168.
Questions or objections?
Your Honor, we would object under 403. These pictures are not relevant and are highly prejudicial. And I'd ask to approach to make an additional record if the court would like it at the bench.
That's fine. Additionally, admit 163, 164, 165, 168, and 128, subject to further foundation in the future.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness.
All right, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator Kelsey, good morning.
Good morning.
Just a couple of questions. The reason to document a scene, I think you were asked this a little bit yesterday, is so that we can have a context about sort of exactly what it looked like. We weren't there, right?
Right.
Okay. And so you were asked questions about sort of how far things are from each other, right?
Yes.
It's helpful to understand how big a scene might be, correct?
Yes.
How small a scene might be, right?
Correct.
And we tried to sort of position, evidence relative to a scene, correct?
Yes.
And so part of what you do is when you identify really anything that can have a potential evidentiary value, you document it, right?
Right.
And you were talking yesterday about how sometimes there are things present at a scene that don't have any evidentiary value, right?
Correct.
Nevertheless, you endeavor to look at them, right?
Yes.
And you were discussing how you try to consider whether they have any relevance, perhaps if they have dust on them or just look like they may have been there a while, right?
Correct.
But you're certainly looking as best you can for everything, right?
Yes.
And anything.
Yes.
Um, you're sort of what we see on TV, CSI, right?
Yes.
Okay. We see in the pictures that were presented that there is a area of rocks next to the sidewalk, correct?
Correct.
And then there is an area of grass beyond the rocks, right?
Yes.
And you were asked to count steps, if I may, handle to handle, right? Because we were looking at those plastic white handles of that grocery bag.
Correct.
And one of the plastic white handles, if I'm remembering right, and I won't make us put it back up there, but it was closer to the rocky area, right?
Yes.
And the other handle was closer to the sort of wall of that apartment building, right?
Correct.
In the grass, right?
Yes.
And to move between those two, did I get this down right? That it was about 6 to 8 steps, right?
Yes.
Not a tremendous area to walk if you're moving someone or walking with someone.
Correct.
Sustained.
6 to 8 steps, right?
Yes.
And then the only other thing I wanted to ask you, when we were looking at these pictures yesterday, you made a point to document what the streets looked like, just in terms of which streets were the closest to this particular scene, right?
Yes.
And we have Billings running perpendicular, correct?
Yes.
And then Colfax running the opposite direction, right? Or the,
Colfax is, yeah, it was way down at the other end. We couldn't see it from where, well, I don't think we could see it in those videos.
and I'm messing up my street names, but we see right at the corner there is Billings Street. Did I
The
remember
street
that
that
right?
runs in front of the building is Billing Street.
Okay, it's just right in front of the building.
Yes.
Anything else you were asked to document in this case, investigator?
As far as the scene goes, or
Yes.
no?
I guess my final set of questions is that as careful as you are to just make sure that you're identifying anything that could be relevant at a scene, and photographing it, right?
Yes.
And not only do you photograph it, but you put those placards so we have an idea of its location over the general entire scene, right?
Yes.
There wasn't a mask that you were able to document at the scene, right?
Correct.
So based upon the photographs that you took and your processing of the scene, we don't have the benefit of knowing, we don't have like a placard by a mask, right?
Right.
Knowing where it was found, right?
Correct.
Knowing what condition it was in, right?
Right.
And you were never asked to photograph that mask?
No, I don't remember seeing a mask at the scene.
Even just after the scene, just in terms of documenting evidence?
No, I don't recall a mask.
You don't know who photographed that, if a mask was photographed?
No, I do not.
You just have one moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Redirect.
No, thank you. People would ask for this witness to be excused.
All right, you may be excused. Thank you. Next witness for the people.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people's next witness is Lieutenant Tisdale.
You'll please step up to my right. I'll swear you in. Do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and Thank you. You'll please be seated. And if you could tell us your name and then spell your last name.
Yep, my name is Delbert Tisdale. Tisdale is spelled Tisdale.
Your witness.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please explain to the jury what you do?
I'm a lieutenant for the Aurora Police Department. I currently oversee the electronic support section, which is responsible for a variety of the department's technology, including its body-worn camera system and its digital evidence repository.
Lieutenant Tisdale, can you explain to the jury a little bit about your career path in law enforcement that led you to this position?
Certainly. I've been with the Aurora Police Department since 2011. In that time, I've served in a variety of roles: patrol officer, field training officer, gang investigator, patrol sergeant, field training sergeant, in-service coordinator, watch commander, and now as a lieutenant again over the electronic support section.
What sort of training and experience led you to this position, particularly in the digital evidence area?
It coincided with some of the duties I previously had in the United States Army, mainly just dealing with technology, but just a lot of time in familiarity with the police department in a variety of roles. I think that's probably what best led me to this position.
Now, I'd like to talk specifically about your role with regards to the body-worn camera system. Can you explain to the jury, please, how body-worn camera system works with the APD?
Certainly. Aurora PD has had body-worn cameras since approximately 2016, 2017. Every officer on the department is issued a camera. And so at the beginning of their shift, they pick up the camera off the dock, fix it to their uniforms, and keep that on them throughout the shift as they respond to calls for service, interact with the community. At the end of the shift, they take that off. They dock that camera. It subsequently uploads all the videos into our digital evidence repository, and the system automatically categorizes all these videos based on whatever type of call for service the officer was on in our CAD or computer-aided dispatching system throughout their shift. So, if they respond to a shoplift, that evidence, that video will be tagged appropriately as a shoplift or as any other call for service.
So let's break down some of those physical devices a little bit. Tell me about the actual cameras that the officers wear.
Sure. Presently, since July of 2021, we use Axon Body 3 cameras. Prior to that, we used a system from a company called VView. Cameras affixed to the uniforms. Officers can manually activate the cameras. Prior to manually activating them, the cameras are always recording video, but not always recording audio. So if my camera's off, but in a buffering mode, it'll constant loop of video being recorded. As soon as I activate it, it'll start recording audio. And then that video will have the preceding 30 seconds of muted video added on.
Okay, so when somebody turns on the camera, it incorporates the last 30 seconds of video, but there's no audio from that?
That's correct.
Okay, how are those turned on? Is it just a button press?
Presently, with the Axon cameras, it's a double press of the button. And previously with the VView, you slid a little door down, which exposed the lens and activated the camera.
Okay, so when you slide the door down on the lens, it's sort of visually apparent to anybody looking at you that the lens is out there?
Correct.
Now, I'd like to talk about is it VView? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, sir.
Now, when that system was in place, was that in place back in August of 2019?
Yes, it was.
So if you have an officer who was wearing their body worn camera on shift and they come back to the station, how exactly do they connect the camera to the system?
Sure. There's just a bank of docks. So an officer would just take it, plug it into that dock, and that's how it would automatically upload all of that video into the system.
And is each camera individually assigned to one officer?
It is.
So, if I had my camera that was assigned to me and I come back from my shift and I place it into the dock, does it automatically download the footage from that?
Yes, it does.
So there's no action required from the officer themselves?
No.
Now, once that camera footage is downloaded onto the system, how was it stored back in 2019?
Just stored within a cloud server, so just on the internet, with people within the department having access to view or share that video.
Okay. Now, when you mentioned people had access within the department to view or share it, was there a way that it would be tracked whether people were viewing it or sharing it?
Sure. Every video, every piece of evidence within that digital evidence repository has an audit log. So it tracks any interaction anybody has with that evidence. So if somebody views it, it'll show that it was viewed. If somebody downloads it, it'll show it was downloaded. If somebody shares it, it'll show that as well.
Does the system also protect the integrity of the original file so nobody could go in and change it up and alter it?
And nobody has access or the ability to edit, delete, alter, or any way change the videos or evidence within the system.
So would it be fair to say that it would be impossible for a line officer, if they wanted to delete something from their camera that they didn't want people to see, it would actually be impossible for them to go into the system and delete it?
That's correct.
Does the system, when it downloads the camera from the officer, does it also download like metadata?
It does.
Can you explain to the jury what metadata is and what sort of metadata gets downloaded specifically from these cameras?
Certainly. Metadata is just the details that are stored behind the scene of any picture, video, or digital evidence. It'll tell you things like when it was recorded, possibly GPS coordinates of where it was recorded, things like the resolution and frame rate and just other details around the evidence that gives a complete picture technically of what you're seeing.
You mentioned that some of this metadata that's automatically downloaded includes the date and time. Is that sort of like how, if I take a cute picture of my dog on my phone, it can tell me what time and what day I took it?
Correct.
Now, you've mentioned before that there is a tracking system for who is viewing evidence and who's downloading or sharing it. Does that system have a name or that document have a name?
We call it an audit log. That audits and maintains an audit of all interactions with the file.
Now, when you moved from this VView system that you had in 2019 to the new system that you have now, were you able to maintain the integrity of both those audit logs and of the videos that were stored?
Yes, we migrated all of the stored data from the VView system into our current Axon system. We maintained audit logs and have the ability to call those up and view or share all those files presently.
Now, have you undergone training with the companies that administer these systems to make sure that you understand how they work and everything?
Yes, with the companies, more so with other members of the department who are very familiar with the systems and have interacted with them for a long time.
Okay, so it sounds like there's some formal training aspect, but also some informal with other people on the job?
That's correct.
And how many years have you been in this role? supervising the digital evidence?
Been in my current role about 18 months.
Your Honor, at this time, the people would move to endorse Lieutenant Tisdale as an expert regarding the storage and procedures of body-worn camera footage at the Aurora Police Department.
Questions or objections?
No, Your Honor. No objection.
All right, the court will allow the witness, Mr. Tisdale, to testify in the area he has offered and offer opinions in that area.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Lieutenant, I'd like to turn to the footage related to this incident involving the death of Elijah McClain. Earlier this year, did you have an opportunity to review screenshots of some of the camera footage that the prosecution team had and compare it to the files that are still stored in the cloud for APD system?
Yes, I did.
What did those screenshots tell you about the evidence that the prosecution had compared to the videos that were still in the system?
Through the screenshots, I was able to see several things. First, there's kind of watermarks on the video on the screen, just information that's imprinted on top of the video for every video that's taken, and it shows a date timestamp. It shows a serial number of the body camera which recorded the video, and then I was also able to just see the overall length of the video overall length of the video that the screenshot came from. With that information, I was able to look and verify that we still retained video evidence within our system that matched all of those things. So the same date and time, the same serial number from the camera that recorded it, and the overall length of the video was the same from what we provided and what was presently in our system.
Now, you mentioned a serial number related to each of the cameras. Is that serial number watermarked onto the top left corner of all the footage from every camera?
Yes, it is.
Are you able to look at that serial number and compare it to the APD records and say, oh, this serial number belongs to this officer?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about your process of authenticating that the video footage that we had is the same video footage that was originally downloaded. Can you tell the jury how you compared those things back and forth?
Sure. Just like I previously stated, I went through each screenshot which represented a video that had previously been shared from the department to the Attorney General's office, and was able to verify in our system that we still had those exact same videos from the same date and timestamp, the same serial number, and the same exact overall length in our current system that had been previously shared.
Based on your comparisons between the videos that we had and the ones that were still in the system, did it appear that those were all true and correct copies of the original video footage from August 24th, 2019?
Yes, it did.
Now, if I may, let's just show only the witness, please, People's Exhibit 194.
Yes.
Lieutenant Tisdale, did you prepare a document summarizing your comparison and analysis of all those videos?
Yes, I did.
And do you recognize Exhibit 194 in front of you?
I do. It is the spreadsheet that I created to do that.
Now, is the purpose of this spreadsheet to validate that the evidence that we had is the same as the evidence that was in the APD system?
Yes, it was.
And is this a fair and accurate copy of that validation spreadsheet that you prepared?
Yes, it is.
Does this spreadsheet summarize the voluminous work you did of manually comparing the evidence that we had to the evidence that's in the evidence cloud?
Yes.
All right, Your Honor, I would move for admission of People's Exhibit 194.
Questions or objections to 194?
No objection, Judge.
194 will be admitted.
Let's publish 194 to the jury, please. So I'd like to talk about each of these columns in turn. The first one seems pretty self-explanatory, just a numbering system for the videos.
Yes, sir.
All right, what is the second column, officer?
The second column is the officer whose video was represented in the screenshot that I received.
I'm sorry.
That I received.
Now, next to it is the BWC serial number. What does BWC stand for?
Body worn camera.
Okay, so what is the body worn camera column depict?
That is the serial number that's imprinted on both the screenshot and APD's copy of the evidence within our system.
Is that serial number tied to one specific officer as well?
Correct.
So for example, in the very first column there, the BWC serial number is LE5301760. Were you able to determine which officer that serial number was assigned to?
Yes, I was. And so I confirmed that in the next column to show that that serial number was assigned to Officer Nathan Woodyard.
Okay. And is that a similar process that you went through with each of the cameras and each of the officers listed down below, confirming that this was the video tied to this person and this specific serial number of camera?
Yes, that's correct.
Did you also pull those audit logs that you talked about for these videos?
I did.
When you were looking at those audit logs, did they reflect that those videos had at some point in time been provided to the Attorney General's office?
They did.
Were those audit logs kept in the regular course of APD's business?
Yes.
Are they something that is automatically created whenever action is taken with regards to one of those videos?
They're automatically updated whenever any action is taken, and the overall log is created when an admin user like myself generates one.
Okay, great. And so based upon taking a look at those audit logs, were you able to confirm that each of these videos, in fact, was downloaded from this August 24th incident?
That's correct.
Did it also show you any time anyone had viewed or accessed those?
It did.
And did it show you any time somebody had downloaded those?
It did.
Did it have notes about where they were sent? For example, the one that they were sent to the AG's office?
Within most of them, yes.
Now, are you able to confirm that the videos that we're talking about here are still in their original condition, unaltered from when they were originally downloaded in August of 2019?
To the best of my knowledge, they are. I don't possess the expertise or technology to be able to perform a forensic analysis of them to verify that they're absolutely unchanged.
Certainly. And are you aware of whether it's possible for anybody at APD to access the original videos and change them on your end?
It's not possible.
Now, I'd like to direct your attention to some of the videos that you've previously reviewed, specifically People's Exhibits 175, 176, 177, 178, 179, 180, 181, 182, 183, 184, 185, 186, 187, 188, 189, 190, 191, and 192. And for future reference, I'll just refer to those as exhibits 175 through exhibits 192. Were you able to review those exhibits in preparation for your testimony today?
I was.
Were you able to confirm that those videos are true and correct copies of the camera footage from officers Woodyard, Redema, Rosenblatt, Green, Nunez, Leonard, Ward, Root, and Dunson?
I was.
And I would move to admit People's Exhibits 175 through 192 into evidence.
Questions or objections with respect to those exhibits?
No objection, Judge.
The court will admit exhibits 175 through 192. Oh, okay. All right, the court has admitted 175 through 192, subject to the orders at the bench.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Lieutenant Tisdale, I'd like to talk a little bit about your knowledge of other officers within the department and what role, if any, you had in this instance involving Mr. McClain. Were you ever personally involved at the scene with the McClain incident?
No, I was not.
Do you know and work with many or all of the officers who were there?
I do.
I suppose it differs from person to person, but do you know most of them, or were you able to recognize most of them in the videos?
I do, and I know most, if not all of them.
Well, I'd like to talk with you about who some of those individuals are so that we can help the jurors identify who we're talking about in some of these videos. Please publish Exhibit 176 from Mr. Rodima's camera, starting at 22:43:07. Go ahead. Now, when this camera starts, Lieutenant Tisdale, we don't hear any audio. Why is that?
Because it's in that 30-second buffering mode prior to the officer activating the camera.
Okay. So when audio starts, would that have been when the officer slides down the screen, slides down the piece so that the camera gets activated?
Yes, sir.
Chill out.
Do you recognize the two officers on the right and the left there?
I do. The officer on the right is Officer Nathan Woodyard. The officer on the left is Officer Jason Rosenblatt.
And do you see Nathan Woodard in the courtroom this morning?
I do. He's standing in the dark suit and striped tie with glasses.
Your Honor, let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
Subject to cross-examination, the record shall so reflect.
Now, while we're here, can you walk me through those red watermarks in the top left corner? Please explain to the jury what each of those are.
Sure. From the top left, that's a date and time stamp. So the 24th of August, 2019 at 22:43 hours and 53 seconds and GMT -6. So we're 6 hours behind Greenwich Mean Time. The second row is the serial number that is associated to that body-worn camera.
Okay. Is that serial number how you know which officer's camera it is?
Correct. I can look up that serial number in the system and see who that camera was assigned to at that date and time.
Okay. Is that information you captured in that table, Exhibit 194 we were just looking at?
Yes, sir.
Now, the timestamp 22:43:53. What is that in Mountain Time?
I believe that is Mountain Time.
Okay. Well, for those of us who aren't familiar with military time,
Yes.
What time of night would that be?
Fair enough. That is 10:43 p.m.
Okay, so if you just subtract 12 from that number, you can figure out what time of night it is?
Correct.
All right, thank you. Let's continue playing this section, please.
Oh, I am an introvert. Please respect the boundaries that I am speaking. Relax. Stop. Stop. I'm going home. Relax, or I'm going to have to change the situation, dude. Hey, stop. Leave me alone.
Sir, can you please
Great.
cooperate?
Leave me alone.
No, we're gonna talk to you.
Started to arrest me, and I was stopping my music to listen. Now let go of me.
All right, stop there. Can you tell me about how you know Officer Woodyard and what interactions you had with him in the past?
Yeah, I've worked around Officer Woodyard when I was a patrol officer and when I was a field training officer in District 3.
Do you know him reasonably well?
I'd say I know me as a coworker reasonably well.
Okay. Are you fairly familiar with his voice as well?
I am.
The individual a few moments ago who we heard say, "Relax, or I'm going to have to change this situation." Who was the person who said that?
I believe that was Officer Woodyard.
Thank you. Let's please take a look at Exhibit 175, starting at 22:42:57. This is Officer Woodyard's camera. Go ahead and play. Is this the same situation where we have no sound for the first 30 seconds?
Yes, sir.
And so when we first hear sound, will that have been when Officer Woodyard activated his camera?
Yes, sir.
Favor, stop right there. Hey, stop right there. Stop. 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 I have a right to stop you because you're being suspicious.
Well, okay.
Turn around.
No,
Turn around.
actually-
Whose voice did you hear there saying, stop right there, stop, stop?
That was Officer Woodyard.
Could we skip forward a little bit to 22:43:28? Oh, I meant just continue to play. Sorry, I can't read.
See your hands, bro.
Turn around. Stop. Stop tensing up, dude. Stop tensing up, bro. Stop tensing up.
Let go of me.
Stop tensing up.
Let me
Stop
go.
tensing up.
No, let go of me.
Stop tensing up.
No, I am an introvert. Please
Stop
respect
tensing
the
up.
boundaries that I
Trying
am
to.
speaking.
Stop
Relax.
tensing up.
Stop.
Relax.
Stop. I'm going home.
Relax, or I'm going to have to change this situation. Stop.
Leave me alone.
Sir,
Stop.
can you please?
No,
be
I
off
wanna
the
do
break?
this, all right? Leave me alone.
No, we're gonna
First off,
talk to
you guys started to arrest me, and I was stopping my music to listen. Now let go of me.
Let's get over to grass.
Take you down. I sin. Take my
Now here the camera appears to just be showing grass. Do these cameras sometimes fall off?
Yes, and I will say our old cameras, the VView system, we had lots of issues with them falling off.
How were they attached to somebody's uniform?
The VView cameras had several different methods. There was like an alligator clip that officers would clip between the buttons on their shirt, and then some officers had a kind of like a U-shaped metal clip that they could tuck into their pen pocket in the breast pocket of their shirt.
Okay. Now, were they supposed to be fastened on somebody's chest?
Yes.
I suppose it's sort of common sense, but does that mean that they're capturing wherever the chest is pointed rather than where the head is pointed?
That's correct.
Or if they fall off, just wherever they happen to land?
Yes.
Could we skip ahead on this video to 22:49:05, please? And we're going to hear a voice asking about some glasses. I'd like to see if you can recognize that voice, please.
Up here? I lost a cup.
Right here, a pair of glasses.
All right. I lost a cup somewhere. That's up right here.
Your glasses and the phone.
Did you recognize the voice of the officer asking about the glasses?
I did. That's Officer Darren Dunson.
And who is Darren Dunson?
He's a lateral patrol officer with the Aurora Police Department.
Okay. And then could we skip back just 2 or 3 seconds? And if you can, please focus on the individual, that we just saw there. And let me know. Which officer? That gentleman on the top right.
That was Officer Randy Rodema.
Let's continue to play this for a few more seconds, please.
And the phone.
And there's one more body camera. Right here on mine. That was heavy.
Go ahead, stop. Did you recognize the officer who was next to Mr. Rodema?
Yes, it looked like Officer Rosenblatt.
Is the camera now back on the ground or the grass somewhere?
It would appear so.
Can we skip ahead on this same camera to 22:55:18, please? I'd like to see if you can identify the officers who are in this clip here.
All right. So he's walking away from us. He did this thing. Hey, dude, this is not a big deal. Just relax. And we sat there for a good 30 seconds trying to calm down. Like, dude, hey, not a big deal. Just need to talk to you. And then
he kept doing this and he kept saying things that didn't make any sense. And then
Stop, please,
"Hey,
I'm
bring
gonna do
the
it."
grass, so we gotta take it down, we can't take down the grass.
We haven't even got that far yet.
And then he starts moving crazier, so we get him cornered against the wall.
What's he doing when he's acting crazy?
He's like saying stuff, and he's holding his arms in, and he's like, I don't remember exactly what he's saying right now, which is acting really strange.
Randy, you need a relief, buddy? Randy, you need a relief?
No, I'm good. I'm just gonna pet him down, make sure he doesn't.
And
Really
then
got
over
that
there,
far yet.
Brody tells me to try to grab my gun, so pull him down.
While he's,
Yeah, so he pulls his arm free and it comes out, and I don't remember feeling it because I was focused on him. But he's like, "You trying to grab your gun?" So I'm like, okay, so he comes down, then yeah. There. And I don't know. So
anything?
No,
No.
he just thought it was weird because he was wearing the mask and he was.
Well, it
doing
is.
gestures.
So, okay,
That's all though.
I need, yeah, to make sure you document that part.
I will.
Can you stop it quick? The officer,
Your Honor, I apologize. Can we request the instruction at this point?
with regards to what Sergeant Nunez is relating.
All right, folks on the jury, you're going to hear statements from, I expect the individual identified will be named Nunez. Any statements that she makes must not be considered by the jury for the truth of what she's saying, but rather the effect on what she may be relaying to people who heard her statements, but for no other purpose.
Well, it's a good thing that we've got people who actually know these folks here, because I may have just misidentified that person on the left. Who is the female officer on the left who was just relaying that information?
That's Officer Alicia Ward.
All right, well, I'll correct it then with the statements that were made by Ms. Ward.
All right, go ahead and play for the next 20 seconds. I'd like to focus our attention on the two male officers in the middle of the screen there.
You draw a 5. Don't do it.
But so I initially tried. I was in a bad position. His neck. Because I was behind. It wasn't like.
So you went to put it on?
So it was more. It was like almost like a schoolboy trying to get in front of me.
Okay.
The individual on the right there who describes, it was almost like a schoolboy going like this. Oh, who is that?
It was Officer Rosenblatt.
Okay. And who is the slightly older gentleman to his left that he's talking to?
Sergeant Dale Leonard.
Based on the prior motion of as well, we requested that similar instruction.
Would that be relating to Sergeant Leonard?
From Mr. Rosenblatt's statements, yes, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, I think that this would be, well, there's a number of exceptions that might apply, but we may want to have the conversation at the bench rather than that. All right, let's, so just to sort of clear up where we were just at a moment ago, can you identify for the jury again, the two males who are in the middle of the screen there, please?
Yep, Officer Rosenblatt is on the right and Sergeant Dale Leonard is in the middle.
Okay. Now could we please play Exhibit 186, Officer Ward's camera from 22:48:22?
Sorry, what's that exhibit?
Exhibit 186,
186, okay.
Officer Ward's camera, 22:48:22.
All right, what do you guys need?
Suspicious. Can you, click my camera over there?
As an initial matter, that female voice, did you recognize that female voice?
Yes, that was Officer Alicia Ward.
Now, it seemed like that voice was pretty clear. In your experience working with these cameras, do they tend to pick up the voice of the officer wearing them pretty well?
They do.
Okay. Do they also tend to pick up things that are closer to them better than things that are farther away?
I'd say they, I would say yes, with the caveat that, you know, they can pick up all sorts of things, just based on clothing and other things around. I think it's kind of hard to say what they pick up best, but
Yeah, you mentioned clothing. We almost heard something like that at the beginning, like a click or a rustle or something that was really loud. Is that what you're talking about?
yes.
They're the same thing as sort of if I've got my phone recording a video and I pull it out of my pocket, I just hear noises.
Sure.
Let's continue playing for the next few seconds.
Would you guys mind contacting the story was on the front end?
Okay.
Great. All right.
Sorry, could you just rewind like 1 second there? We saw 3 officers clustered around Mr. McClain. There we go, perfect. Who's the gentleman standing up on the right side there?
It's Sergeant Dale Leonard.
Okay. Does he have sort of a short buzz crew cut style haircut?
Yes.
And then on the bottom left with his face facing towards us, who's that?
It's Officer Randy Rodema.
See the one who's wearing sunglasses on top of his head?
He is.
And then who is the officer in the middle there facing away from us?
I can't say for certain. I have an idea, but it wouldn't be a fair assessment with them looking away.
Sure. Would mostly be based on the context rather than being able to see his face.
Yes, sir.
Let's then move to Exhibit 180, please. Sergeant Nunez's camera from 22:47:36. Now here, do we have the same thing where for the first 30 seconds, there's no audio?
That's correct.
Now, after Sergeant Nunez steps out of her car here and starts walking, I'd like to focus your attention first on the individuals walking on the sidewalk towards her.
So.
Did you recognize the female officer that was walking towards Sergeant Nunez?
Well, that was Officer Ward.
And how about the male officer whose arm we can still see in the right side here?
I believe that's Sergeant Leonard.
And then on the left, do you recognize the officer who's standing there who has the mustache?
Officer James Root.
All right, continue playing for a few seconds.
You brought it.
Oh, just go ahead and play, sorry. Oh, right, that is the end of this one. Could we then move to 178, Mr. Rosenblatt's camera from 22:50:05?
I don't know. Stop.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to do that. I can't breathe correctly because.
Stone. Now, who is the officer that Officer Rosenblatt's camera is pointing straight towards in the middle of the screen here?
It's Officer Rodema.
Go ahead and continue.
Ah.
Move your camera, dude.
Who was that just said, move your camera, dude?
That was also Officer Rodema.
Continue playing.
We have the gun. No, he went for his gun.
Oh, my God.
And who is that just said, oh, my gun?
I believe that was Officer Rosenblatt.
Go ahead.
Does anybody have sandy wipes? All right, thanks.
You can bend his knees a little bit so he can balance himself.
He's kicking around a little bit. So, yeah.
I'm not missing mine. Are you missing yours? Yours is in the car, right? Your cell phone?
What's up?
Your cell phone is in the car?
I think so. Is it an iPhone?
What kind of drugs did you take?
Red case?
No.
What kind of drugs did you take tonight? What kind of drugs did you take?
Yeah, I'm good, bro.
We need to know. Okay? Good, bro.
Can you find sandy wipes for me somewhere, please?
Who's the officer sort of bending over Mr. McClain, asking him if he took any drugs?
That's Sergeant Leonard.
Go ahead.
Know what you were taking.
From anybody? Yeah, anything, please.
Are you listening to that? I'm asking you what drug you were taking. Here you go. Uses mine. It was recording. I just shut it off because it's split in half.
Do you recognize the female officer who just walked onto the scene up there?
It's Officer Stephanie Nim.
Continue, please.
So something fell out right here on the grass, but I don't know what it was. Probably looks like
Gotta throw up, dude?
Yeah.
Throw up right there, okay? Don't throw up on me, though.
we got fire coming.
Whose voice was it that just said, don't throw up on me?
That was Officer Rosenblatt.
Let's go to same video, but start at 53 minutes and 8 seconds. I want to focus your attention on the individual standing in the frame there.
There you go. Just like that.
You're good.
Don't
You're
get
good.
up, dude. It's not gonna be good for you. I'm telling you right now.
If you keep messing around, I'm gonna bring my dog out. He's gonna dog bite you. You understand me? Keep messing around.
The individual standing in the center of the frame talking, who's that?
It's Officer Matt Green.
We'd now go to, well, before I switch exhibits, Your Honor, what time would the court like to take the morning break? It's 1:20 or 10:22 now.
Another 10 minutes or so.
Can do.
Fine.
Let's go to exhibit 192, Officer Dunson's camera, starting at 22:48 and 0 seconds.
You know what?
Were you able to recognize those two officers walking away from the scene?
I believe that was Officer Ward and Officer Root.
Go ahead and continue.
Oh, fuck that.
The individual seated in the back right, wearing the ball cap, with the beard and the flashlight on his leg. Do you recognize who that is?
If you could back it up and play it one more time, please.
Rewind 3 seconds or so.
Looks like Officer Woodyard.
Continue.
Yeah, need help or
You
anything?
guys give me wipes?
Wipes?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
You have a good grip on it?
He went like this, dude.
No, I'm good. Good going.
The individual who just took his hat off and walked off the screen, who was that?
I believe that was Officer Woodyard.
Continue.
I still don't know my bike.
Okay.
Like right here, dude.
Up here? Right here, the pair of glasses? All right. Cuz, there's glasses and a phone right over here. Right here.
This isn't that little guy, is it?
I don't know.
Like-
Stop. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, was he trying to do that? Yeah, breathe correctly, because.
Have the gun.
No, he went for his gun.
Oh.
Pretty quick, we have fire, right? He's like here, we get him in here, we need to get transported. That's for it, there enough.
Tell them to come in off.
Thanks.
In the foreground here, on sort of the middle left of the screen. God, I had this. Who is this?
It's Officer Matt Green.
And we just saw an officer who's no longer wearing a hat here that walked behind Mr. Green. Could I draw your attention to him as we continue to play?
He can bend his knees a little bit. He can balance himself.
Is that his cell phone over there?
He's kicking around.
With a red case? Y'all missing your cell phone or
I'm not
anything?
missing mine. Yours is in the car, right?
What's that?
Your cell phone is in the car?
I think so. Is it an iPhone?
Is with a red case?
No.
Okay.
Were you able to identify who that officer is that's walking away with Sergeant Nunez here?
I wasn't. There was 2 officers that didn't have hats that entered and exited that frame, so I can't be certain.
Okay. Could we back up maybe about 90 seconds here? Yeah, go ahead and start here. So the individual I'm referring to comes walking up in this area before going behind Officer Green. Oh, sorry, 90 seconds before this. So like 49. There we go, yep.
Pretty quick, we have fire, right? He's like here, we get him in here, we need to get transported. That's for it, there enough.
Tell them to come in off.
Thanks.
Does that help you identify who that officer was?
It's Officer Woodyard.
And now this female officer with the blonde ponytail, do you know who that is?
I believe that's Officer Erica Marrero. Or I'm sorry. Could you actually play it a little bit?
Sure.
Bend his knees a little bit. He can balance himself.
Is that his cell?
It's Officer Jordan Mullins.
Could we switch to exhibit 184, Sergeant Leonard's camera, starting at 22:50:15?
He's kicking around a little bit.
Okay, that's fine, just stay with it.
I'm not missing mine.
Hey, man, are you on any drugs tonight, man?
What's it? Your cell phone?
Talk to me, okay?
The iPhone?
What kind of drugs have you been taking, man?
No.
What kind of drugs did you take tonight? What kind of drugs did you take tonight? We need to know, okay?
Good, brother. You're not in trouble. Don't worry about that.
We need to know what you were taking, because we need to try to get you treated, okay? Are you listening to me, man? I'm asking you what kind of drugs you were taking tonight.
Whose voice was that we just heard asking, we need to know what kind of drugs you were taking tonight?
It was Sergeant Leonard.
Go ahead.
There you go. You're right. Whose is this?
Mine.
This officer who's sort of been standing in the center of the screen, are you able to identify who that was?
Can you back it up like 3 seconds? I believe that's Officer Matt Green.
And is Officer Dunson over here on the left side of the screen?
That is correct.
Go ahead.
Pull it over. It was recording. I just shut it off because it's split in half. So something fell out back here on the grass, but I don't know what it was.
It probably looks like it. You got it.
Got to throw up, dude? Throw up right there, okay? Don't throw up on me, though.
We got fire.
Here's your 26. You are not directly on this call at this moment with us. Go back into service, please.
And that voice that we heard saying, go back into service if you're not on the call at this moment, who was that?
That's Sergeant Leonard.
And I think this would be a good place to stop for our morning break before I switch videos.
All right, folks on the jury, we're going to take our mid-morning break. I'd like to have you back in roughly 15 minutes. One thing I want to note is it can be important for the jurors to closely pay attention to all the evidence in the case. There are times when the devil is in the details. So I just want to remind you of that. Don't form or express any opinions or discuss the case even amongst yourselves. Do no independent research. Stay away from any press coverage. We have some coffee for you if that helps. And we'll see you in about 15 minutes.